Hi, right now we're going to discuss about handling an exception in Python. So, Google Colab is one of the IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. And every IDE provides three functionalities. First one, we can write the code using the editor, usually text editor. And then we can also run the code using the compiler and interpreter. And also, we can debug our code to check whether our code is error-free or not. So when an error happens, the IDE can raise an exception. So we have to distinguish between error and also exception. Error is when we try to code and our code does not comply with the programming language. And based on that error, the IDE can raise an exception. So it's going to stop the program. So it's going to give you an error message. So we have several types of exception. First one is the syntax error, type error, name error, index error, key error, value error, attribute error, and also IO error and zero division error, and also import error. So we're going to discuss example for each of these exemption. So the first one is syntax error. Let's try to, okay, we have a program and this code will print hello, but as we can see, the string hello start with double quote, but end with single quote. So it's going to give you a syntax error, like this one. Syntax error, which means unterminated string literal. So the purpose of the IDE is to give you a debugging functionality. So it's going to give you the error and sometime with the error location, like this one. It's going to give you the error location with the red line below the statement that give you error. And then, and why is an error? For example, like this one. It's an error because unterminated string literal. And then possibly how to correct the error. But in this case, they're not providing us the, this one, fixed error, something like this. Okay, so this is syntax error, where when our program does not comply with the syntax from the programming language. Another example is like this. We try to give a branch, if true, print error, but we forgot to the colon. So we try to run the program. It's going to give you syntax error, expected colon in here. Okay, so there are two types, or there are two examples of syntax error. Now, next example is the type error. As we can see, we try to print a string with 1. Plus is an operator that can concate or combine two strings together. But in this case, they try to combine a string with a number. Not going to happen. But if you think this operator is an addition operator, then it's going to give you an error because it's supposed to be a number and also a number. So it's going to give you a type error here. And saying that I can only concate string to string, not integer. Okay. Okay. Next one is the name error. Name error happens when we try to use a variable, for example, but hasn't declared yet. Like this one, name error, which is name A is not defined. So we have to define what is A. Is it an integer? If it is integer, what is the value of A? Okay, and the next one is index error. It happens when we try to retrieve a value with the index more than it's supposed to be. For example, like this, I have a list 1, 2, 3, but I'm going to print list with the index number 3. This one is index 0, this one index 1, this one index 2. So there is no index 3. So it's going to give you index error. Place index out of range. Okay. Now, next one, key error. Key is the first column of the dictionary. So A is the key, 1 is the value, B is the key, and 2 is the value. And I try to retrieve, please print dictionary with key C, but we don't have key C. We only have A and B, no C. Okay, so key error. Now, next one is value error. In value error, we try to modify, like for example, a character into an integer. It's not going to happen. Like this one, value error. I cannot modify or I cannot change a character into a value, an integer value. Now, attribute error. In attribute error, it's going to give you attribute error when we try to use a method or function, remember about object-oriented, we try to use an object that is not declared yet. For example, like this, I have a string, and the string has the value of I am Optimus Prime. And I try to use method length, which is supposed to return or give me the length of the string. So the correct method is len, just len, not length. But because I forgot about the correct method's name, so I try to use length in this case instead of len. Okay, attribute error. String has no attribute length. It's supposed to be length. This one. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm going to skip this one. Supposed to be okay. If we want to try, what is the correct one? Okay, I have the okay, capitalize and then center count. Count is to retrieve how many character inside a string, and then find similar like length. This one. What they give you length? There is no so length. Okay, let's skip this one. We forgot about the correct one. Okay, next is the IO error. It happens when we try to open a file that is not exist, like this one. I'm going to open a file named file.txt, but it says file not found error. It's an IO error. Okay. Now, next one is zero division error. Is pretty obvious. We try to divide with 0. Okay. Now, next topic is about how we're going to avoid this exception in Python using the structure of try, except, else. So let's try to avoid exception caused by the zero division error. First, we ask an input from user, an integer number, and then we try to convert that input into an integer value. And then I'm going to try first print 1 divided by x is the input. If it's going to give me an error, then it's not going to do this one. Instead, it's going to print cannot divide by 0. But if there is no error, then it's going to print 1 divided by x. Okay, let's try it out. Enter a number. Let's try 10, for example. Then it's going to give you 0.1. Okay. Now, how about if I enter 0 in this case? It's going to give you this one. It's going to print cannot divide by 0. Okay. Now, let's try to avoid exception caused by zero division error and also value error. So in except, we can identify if it's going to give you an exception of zero division error, please do this. But if it's going to give you a value error, exception of value error, then please do this. Okay, let's try it out. Enter a number. Let's try 10 first. It's going to give you 0.1. Okay, I'm going to give maybe like a 0 now. Cannot divide by 0, so it's going to do this one for the exception. And then let's try to enter A, for example. It's going to give you invalid input because I cannot modify or convert A into an integer value. Okay, so we already use try and except. How about else? In else, we can run several statement when there is no exception found. Like for example, this one. In the previous example, I'm going to print 1 divided by x in try section, but I'm going to do this statement in the else section. Okay, let's try 10, 0.1, and then let's try 0. It's going to give you zero division error. Instead, so when I try to enter 0, it's going to give you also an exception. Because I'm going to print 1 divided by x. But if I try to let's input A, then to give you invalid input. Okay. Okay, I think that's it for this topic discussion. So we're going to explore more in the class on next Wednesday. Thank you.